Hello and welcome to the Green Team of the Legendarium, the patron spin-off of the Legendarium podcast, where we talk about the books and topics the main crew hasn't gotten around to yet. I'm Cesky, and today I have with me our cat herder, LRB.
Not anymore. Hello.
And we also have the man who defies all odds, Soulution.
That's me, because I don't herd cats.
That's right. And as always, I am your ever-smiling host, Cesky. Thanks for tuning in, and we hope you guys are going to enjoy our discussion of the finale of our Greatcoats series, Tyrants Throne. However, you have a little bit of a confession to make. Unfortunately, we did lose our audio from the first time around, and it was really top-notch audio that we lost.
It was the best.
Yeah.
It was the best.
Amazing.
I mean,
It was a shame.
the world will never see its like ever again. And unfortunately, you can blame that all on me. But if you also want to blame Red, that's fine. I mean,
Yep,
I'm
I
sure
will.
she'll accept some of the blame, but it's
Mhm.
mostly my fault. But we're going to do our best to recap and kind of remember our feelings about this book. And so we hope that you enjoy this as much as we enjoy it. So first off, let's just do some general thoughts again. Red, why don't we start with you? How did you like this book? Just general vagueness, no spoilers yet.
So I feel like the first book really captured like lightning in a bottle. If that makes sense.
Yeah.
And it's definitely my favorite, but this is my second favorite in the series. And I would give it about a 3.5. I had
What?
some
Okay.
problems.
Sorry.
I
Yeah, I
had
know.
some problems with some of the
Yeah.
plotting,
Wow.
but I did thoroughly enjoy it. And it brought up some really cool questions about what it means to be a good leader that I enjoyed exploring in this story.
Has your opinion changed with the second reread for today, or with the extra time that you kind of have had to think about it more?
Both and I like it better now.
Okay.
I was pretty salty after
Right.
the
And I think part of it might just be reading all four of them as fast as we did. And
Yeah.
I just think they get a little intense. And so I can't say it's the level of a Robin Hobb book, but I do feel like you get a little bit of that same kind of Hobb burnout when you read them, right?
I think
In
so.
hindsight,
Sure.
yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, definitely.
All right. And Soulution, no spoilers. How did you feel?
I also agree with Red. However, you know me, I'm an enabler. What I also am, I'm an overlooker. Okay. When a book has problems and it doesn't give me anything else to root for, I'm not gonna like it. When it has problems, but it gives me something that's really fun or something really enjoyable in the book, I can overlook things, and that's what this one did. So going through on a second time, it was much more enjoyable than even the first time.
Good to hear. What would you give it out of 5? 3.5 again, or 4?
No, this is a 4, possibly 4.25, maybe a 4.5. It's pretty fun. There are those downsides, but the highs are really high. It's like a valley and a mountain and a peak, like, up down roller coaster. It's
Yep,
really fun.
yep.
It's good.
I agree.
It's good.
And I would say I think I gave the first one a 4. So and the other two I gave like a 3 and a 2.5 if I remember correctly.
Yeah, first and last of the series, best books.
Chesky's
The
just
middle
shaking his
two,
head.
yeah, I know. Well, there's some really good moments in 2 and 3, but the first
There
book,
are.
yeah.
I have to agree with you guys. The first book really stands alone and works really well. You could read it as just a standalone.
You
But we're
could,
talking
yeah.
about the series here. This is the book, the series ender. And I hate to say this again to you guys, but you're still wrong. Your reviews are still too low.
Okay.
Like I
okay.
said last time, this is definitely a 4.75 at least.
Okay.
Probably a 4.5 would be the lowest I'd go. I mean, there are so many amazing moments that just make you say, this is so amazing what's going on right here, that I'm more with Soul, where it just is like, yes, there are a couple things that could be bad, but like there is so much that's just like makes you want to stand up and be like, yes, Falcio,
yeah.
you did it.
Okay,
You're
so
amazing.
this is from the man who crapped all over one of my favorite books. So I
Hey,
just want to point that out.
Oh,
I
we're
did
not here
not-
to talk about other books,
I
okay?
did not do that. I just had my own problems with it. And I will admit that this book could probably use a little bit more cutting down of certain things.
Yeah.
But I did not cry once during Jonathan Strange and Mr. Norrell because it was so dry and boring. Sorry. But I did cry 4 times during this book. And normally series enders are not that emotional, right?
Yeah, and this wasn't just at the end. This was throughout.
This was
Yes,
throughout.
I
It
agree
wasn't
with
just
that.
the end. So
I didn't cry on this read through, but I definitely did the first time I read it.
yeah, it's
But I was also like, get to the end. So I didn't have time for emotion.
you didn't have time for emotion.
Yeah,
Here
that's the best
we're-
headspace that Red goes into books for the podcast for.
We're getting
It's
into it right
just
here.
real quick. All right.
No
Lead
time
us
for
in.
emotion.
Lead
All
us
right,
in.
so you guys just want a little bit of plot recap that I have. It's not the best plot recap, as I said, but I have a little bit of a plot recap here for you guys. All right, Falcio has to save the world, but almost burns it down. He ends up going west and finding the Avarians prepping for war, led by Morn, and the missing Greatcoats. He gets captured and is put in a jail cell with Tren, our mortal enemy from the past, and Filion, a half-sister or half-brother to Aline. They escape, they lose Tren, Falcio breaks down, he then attempts a coup, is betrayed by another fake coup, and later on, Aline dies, protecting Filion, and then Gilliard dies protecting Aline, and Aline dies protecting Filion. Just tears and sadness all around. Falcio breaks down yet again, and then the first cantor, Falcio decides that he has to save the country, and he basically holds a trial for the country. He brings in the Rangetti, the Bardetti, the armor, the knights. I don't remember what their special
Honori
name
or
is.
something like that. Yeah.
Armory, yeah, something like that, right? And then he goes west again, bringing the final army that they're going to use to stand up against the Avarians, and they fight against the Avarians. He chooses Chalmers to do the Rite of Scorn, which was just, it's such an epic scene. And then the final fight, the 7 versus 1,000, and that's the end. I mean, that's the end of that big fight. Everything's getting better at the end of our book, but nothing's 100% done. We get Death, Love, and Valor. The 3 gods come to visit Falcio a final time. Kest joins the Honori, which are the knights. Brasti joins the Rangeretti, which are the Rangers, and Falcio retires with Athalia.
Yay.
Scene out, yes.
Yeah. Good ending.
Oh,
And it was
also
well-deserved.
and Athalia is pregnant too.
And Athalia's pregnant, yes. We learned
Yeah.
that in the middle-ish of the book, I believe, right?
It's suspected, but Falcio doesn't find out until the very end.
Yeah,
Right.
because he's dumb.
Yeah, I mean, yeah.
He's
Well,
just
he
a dumb
is.
guy,
Yeah.
okay? All
Yeah.
right, so let's talk a little bit about characters here, because that's kind of all I have to really go on. Or let's talk plot for a second first. What did you guys think of the plot of this book, since we kind of just discussed it? Did you enjoy it? I mean, the threat of another outside invasion, the first book, it's finding the heirs. The second book, kind of stopping things from going on there. The third book was, trying to stop the religion from taking over, basically. And the fourth book, now it's an outside threat. So did that work for us? Did you not like it?
Okay.
Soulution, why don't you
I want to hop in before Red goes, just because. Yeah.
Go ahead.
I feel like this is important. Okay. I didn't like Falcio's whole wanna do a coup thing. Didn't enjoy that. My other second point is it's only a slight step down because they didn't try to kill a god again, which they did in the third book. Which usually when you kill a god, you gotta kill something better than that the next book. This was just like an invasion, which is fine. It was really fun and cool, and I enjoyed that. But it was, I kept thinking, we did just kill a god. Okay, so now we just got a bunch of other people to worry about. So that was my main points. Okay, go ahead, Red.
So, my first point that I want to make is that Cesky skipped over the entire first half of this book.
That's
Oh wait,
'cause
the
nothing
wedding.
happens
The
in first
wedding.
half.
The wedding was so much fun.
First of all, the opening is amazing.
It is.
Yeah.
And you have this she's not a little girl, but she's a young girl, who was sworn in to the Greatcoats the night the king died.
When she was 12.
And that's
Yeah.
Chalmers.
12 or 13, yeah.
She was 12.
Either
I
way.
just read it. She was 12.
Okay, she was 12. The wedding barge was great.
Yeah.
And there's a whole bunch of stuff that goes on. And I want to say, and this is a criticism of the book, how much of that
Okay.
stuff could have just been cut and made the book shorter and more succinct.
It could
I
have.
think a lot of it could have been cut.
Yeah.
And that is one of my major problems with this book, because there was just a lot of stuff, and you can tell the whole plot without telling a bunch of that stuff. You have the weird thing with the Duke that's not his title.
I know what you mean. The boyfriend of what's her name?
Valiana.
Valiana.
Yeah.
And
Pelham, something with a P.
whatever.
I don't know.
Yeah,
I called
whatever his
him the
name.
loser, and so
Yeah, that fits. That
he
tracks.
doesn't get
Yeah.
He doesn't get a name in my notes.
Yeah, he doesn't
Um,
deserve a name. He's fine.
But the point is, you have all this palace intrigue that really isn't important. It's well written palace intrigue, which is why the book is at a 3.5 and not lower.
But he's
because-
improving because the last 3 books,
No, I totally agree.
it was
definitely better.
all torture and
Yes.
extra torture. Whereas now, instead of too much torture, he's just doing more world building, which I'd much prefer for him to go a little off the deep end for than extra too much torture.
There's only
Okay?
a little bit of torture.
Correct
Yeah,
me if
and
I'm
that's
wrong,
fine.
but it's
Just
mostly
right now.
emotional torture in this one to the
Yeah,
reader,
that was
making
my-
the reader
yeah.
cry versus
That's
making
fine.
Falcio cry.
That's okay. Yeah, that's what I want to read about.
Well, there's a little torture of Tren. I mean, she gets a little tortured, but you
Yeah,
don't
but
feel
it's not
sad about
overdone.
that.
Yeah.
No, and also you kind of
It's more of a
punch her in the
cheer.
face.
I think we can easily stay away from saying that anybody kind of deserves torture, but
Well, I
if
guess.
there was
I don't
somebody,
know.
maybe Tren would
If we
fit the
really,
bill, right?
mhm.
So
I think
Could
we
be somebody
remember
in this book.
when Tren showed up to have sex with Falcio during his torture.
Yeah.
yeah, That was yeah. No,
So
she's
maybe
definitely twisted and messed up,
she gets a
right?
little bit of torture without too much sympathy from me, is all I'm
Right.
saying.
Yeah,
No,
you heard it here. Green team promoting torture.
I
That's
have to
us.
agree with Red that I do think there were parts of it that could be skipped, but I didn't have time to read it again. I'm just kind of busy with life. But I started reading the beginning and I was like, oh, I totally remember this boat scene. And it's like a triple betrayal right off the bat where you're like, you go in thinking it's this is happening. And then the next scene, it's like, oh, wait, this is actually a trick here. And then it's another trick on top of it. So it was really good. And then I'd skip ahead. And one of the things I noticed is that it didn't really matter where I started reading at. It just kind of like pulled you in and started reading. You know, I'd skip ahead a couple chapters.
Yeah, I liked his pacing.
I'd skip ahead a little bit more in the next scene. So I really like that kind of no matter where I pulled in, it really sucked me in. Solution, did you have something you wanted to say?
By the now, and I agree. The pacing was really good. Yeah.
And I'm sure there were a lot of parts that could be trimmed down or cut a little bit, like Red was saying. But as I was reading them, I wasn't like, oh, this is just extra filler. Because I do enjoy reading about all the characters. You know, reading about Valiana and learning she has this blood rage from the poison that she's been given, right? And so she gets into it with the Duke, and they're having some fun times together. And then she kind of freaks out on him, and he's like, "Whoa, I'm off of this. I'm leaving. This is too crazy for me." And everybody's like, "Yeah, you're horrible. You're out of here." You know, it was
Yeah.
amazing. It was good. So,
He didn't deserve fun times.
I like that
yeah.
yeah, that Chambers or Chambers, whatever her name is, shows up in his bedroom. It's like, "You are gonna apologize to everybody that you're told these horrible lies to about her just because you're a big weenie."
Right, right. Just
Yeah.
because you don't get it and you can't, you know, you're not cool enough. So no, I like that a lot. I think let's talk about Duke Gilliard. You know, in the first book, he's kind of our main antagonist here,
Yeah.
and now in these other books, he's
Wait, real quick
sure.
before we go on.
I'd love to.
I want to go back to what Soul was saying about how we killed a god last book and that this doesn't up the ante. And I disagree. And here's why.
Okay.
This book is about going to your death for an idea. And that's bigger than killing a god. This is about making a new country. Like
So you're
there's
saying internal strife
yes,
versus
exactly.
external magical level strife.
Right, and, I mean, so basically they become England, right? I mean, like, they become a constitutional,
Well,
monarchy,
they're well on their way to it. Yeah.
Yeah.
but that's what it officially
Well,
becomes.
this is a history. This is a fiction about England, I thought, right?
I don't
Yeah,
think it's ever specifically called out as like specifically
yeah.
England
So
history, but
this
like
isn't real?
Yes, it's
no,
not real.
sorry, Soul.
Sorry,
This is a
Soul.
Oh
fiction
man.
book.
I know it's very
Okay.
disappointing,
No,
but
I would like to. I'd like to say something else with Red on that. Just that, like, yes, we killed a god last time, but in this book, you know, what was it that allowed them to kill the god? It was the law and the order, right? They had to be like, we have the laws, and we follow that, and that we're going to use to defeat the god. And this book is all about, you know, what is the law versus justice versus fairness versus where does an individual fit in that whole thing, you know? And so that felt
Yeah,
more
this is
real
the
to me, you
most
know.
it's the most Greatcoat book of the Greatcoats, where
100%.
they're
In that sense,
like
yes.
the other ones you feel like they're kind of dragged along in the storyline and the plot and what's going on in the politics, and this is more about just being Greatcoats,
Yeah,
which is
and
good.
And what it means to be a nation. What does
Yeah.
it
yeah.
mean?
I'm
Yeah,
not saying it's
so
bad. I'm just saying they didn't
no.
kill a god again. Okay, that's all
So
I'm
if the
saying.
Avarians had had a god that they go kill, then it would have been fine.
Yes, then it would have been a step up because they didn't kill their own god. They killed another person's god, another country's god. Okay, that's what I wanted to see.
Okay, I guess that's fair.
Yeah.
All right,
All right, let's go back to Duke Chillard because
back to
we
Duke
got things
Gillard.
to say.
Yeah, has been kind of this interesting character throughout the whole series. You know, he really started as an antagonist. He did not want to see anything kind of go on. And as these books have gone on and things have happened, he's obviously softened quite a bit towards the Greatcoats and towards not being the ruler, right? He wants to be better. How do you guys feel about him? I mean, it was a pretty touching scene
Yeah.
when he dies in place of Aline, you know, protecting her. And
Oh
you
man,
started as him as like the main antagonist. So
you hated
I mean,
him.
tell
You
me
hated
about it.
him, and now I shed a tear for him. 4 books later, he dies, and I'm sad because this guy who, books are about, character developments, and this is a guy who got, kind of a second chance, but you didn't really see him make that choice. You just saw him slowly do things to want to make himself a father who would have a son that's proud of him after his son is dead, which is just a storyline I don't really ever see that often. And I thought it was well done.
So he's my favorite character.
Okay.
I think he changes the most and grows the most. And I like the fact that he brings in, first of all, that he's a counselor to Felcio, but also that he brings in the real world politique. Real politique aspect to balance Falchio's idealism, and he
Hmm.
really helps him with that. And I think my one of my favorite scenes in the book, and this is one that made me cry the first time I read the book, where Falchio goes to him, and this is when he's trying to figure out what he's going to do. Is he going to put Elaine on the throne, or he's going to put
Philly.
Fillion on the throne? And he says about his son, he's like, why do I see his face everywhere? Everywhere I look, I see him, and all I want to do is look up to him, or have him look up to me. And he's just talking about his grief over his son, who was like the one thing in the world he actually loved. And man, it makes me think about what would I do if my kids died? One of my kids died, and how would that change me? And it obviously would change me. But the fact that he's like the perfect, not the perfect balance, but he's becoming the balance between dealing with the real world and your ideals. And that's what I love about his character.
Yeah. He definitely he's pretty heavily on the side of like, this is the real world and I get what I want and I do what I need to get it. And then he moves, ever so slowly and then faster and faster after his son dies to just that whole like, I do want to make this a better place. Like if the world had been better, my son
Yeah.
wouldn't have died. You know what I
Mhm.
mean? And it's that it's too late now for me, but instead of shutting down, he's like, well, I'm going to make it so that, in the future, it's not too late for anybody, and I agree. I love that scene. I love he's always trying to be like, Falchio, you're focusing on the wrong things. Like, yes, the nobles are corrupt and they suck. We all suck. I know it. I'm a noble. We suck. But you have to deal with us. You can't just run ramp shot over us. They have power. And I like that scene when Falchio goes to him and he's like, you have to marry Aline because they won't respect her if she's not married, which obviously gets into, everything about this kind of time period, right? But Gilliard's like, no, I'm not going to do that. You're gross. You're disgusting. Why would you ever ask that of me? And then, Falchio's like, okay, you're right. I was bad and I'm in a bad place. And, and he moves on from there. And I like
Yeah.
that. Yeah.
Oh yeah, that's the same scene.
Oh, is it? Okay. Sorry.
Yeah.
It's the same scene because it's that
Yeah,
good.
right. Yeah, no, I love that part. Where he's
Yeah.
like, even I wouldn't do that. I'm a
Yeah.
pretty bad dude.
Yeah.
All right. We're talking about her a lot. What did you guys think of Aline in this book?
A little
She is
annoying.
a little annoying. She is a poor 14-year-old girl trying to rule
I
our nation.
know, I know. She's been tormented for like 3 years since we meet this character.
I really liked how she's able to show moments of strength and moments of vulnerability, and you're never like, oh well, this is silly, she's either strong or weak, but she really showed like a full person, right? Like, and she has that attitude towards Falchio where she's like, I want to show him that I'm strong, but he's kind of like my dad, and I just need him to show me. I need to show him that I'm weak and that he needs to help me, right? Did you guys kind of feel that a little bit like I did?
So how I felt about her is that she's grown a lot too, because she went from going along with the Taylor's nonsense in the second book to saying, no, Falchio was right to bring my brother, even if that means I have to give up the throne. What I will say is she never actually wanted to be queen. And Falchio is
Yeah.
pushing that on her.
Yeah. This is a
And
great out.
And
Yeah.
she's like, "Yeah, it's fine. It's fine. It'll all work out, Falchio." And there's some issues around that court intrigue that really don't feel real to me. They feel a little forced by the author. Like, why, if all the sages declared one or the other the true heir, there would be civil war? And there's just a little force there. That's one of my other plot problems. But
I don't feel it's
I
forced. I just don't like any really politics like that in most books, anyways. So this is definitely my least favorite part of the books is that stuff. So
I agree with you, Red, that it's a stupid premise that like, oh, these six people who are just, sages, they said that it has to be this way, but that's totally how it works in real life sometimes, where especially in the past
fair
where it was
enough.
like these six people who are just they live in the mountain and they don't do anything but think. They said, it's gonna rain on Tuesday, so therefore it will rain on Tuesday, no matter what. But I agree, like it was not
that's all
didn't
the
need to be
people
that big
have.
of it.
That's all they got to go on. All
That's
right. This is the whole world. They got no internet to back this stuff up. They're like, this is the rules.
Is the
This is
internet
what
much
we
better
do.
than six people living
Well,
I'm
in
not
the
saying it's
internet
better. I'm
hopefully
just
teaches
saying,
you to critically think about things, but
yeah, these are
maybe,
farmers.
maybe.
These are like stable people. And they're just like, yeah, this is what we've been doing. Yeah, they're stable people. Okay. There's a
okay.
lot of
Now,
jobs in the stable. All right.
I've been proposing a lot of things to talk about here. Red, why don't you give us one thing you wanted to talk about with this book? Something that struck you, or let us know what it
Do
is.
you want it to be a good thing or a bad thing?
That's up to you.
So I
Yeah,
want
it's
to
up
talk
to you,
about
I guess.
Tren.
Trend,
Okay.
okay.
I don't
She
believe anything that happens with her character except the very end.
where she's exiled.
Yeah, where she is gonna marry Fillion and basically murder him or whatever and take over the throne. Like none of this stuff stuff that she does make sense. The fact that she and her mom were hiding this kid away for years and years as like a spare, it doesn't make sense to me. Like her character just, I feel like has just kind of got blown up by the narrative.
That's fair. I can see that.
And it really grated on me, especially the part where she's like, "I'm gonna go lead them away." And then, oh, magically, Blizzard saves me and I lost my 3 fingers and I rally my troops and like none of that. I'm sorry, none of that.
Yeah, I don't believe any of that.
I mean, I could see part of it. She was very charismatic when she needed to be, but she was very twisted and had some very
It's not the
messed up.
charismatic part.
Well,
It's
it
the
just meant of leading
Look,
the guys, and like you were saying.
I've read a
like,
lot of books, okay? And the one thing I do know, all right, is when there's royalty or there's popular figures in a world without cameras, nobody knows who anybody looks like. So if you send a lady out there who does not look like a noble, she's not gonna rally anybody because nobody's gonna believe she's who she says she is
No,
ever.
that's not what I'm saying because everyone knows
So
who
that
she
was
is.
my sticking point. Is that it was
Oh,
like,
yeah,
oh no,
no.
she goes out there, she ain't gonna come back with troops. She's gonna come back and be like, I made it. I had to steal eggs from a farmer. Nobody believed I was Trin. And then she goes about her life after that. Once people recognize her.
The part I didn't believe is where she led the people away from the camp. So the part I don't believe is that she's a twisted psychopath and she would never ever ever lead Morn folks off from the main quarry. I just don't believe it of her
Okay.
character.
That's fair. Okay, so that's how you feel about Trin. Solution. Give us something you want to talk about with this book.
Well, I want to talk about 7 for 1,000
Oh, yes.
because that's
Yeah.
definitely the best part of the book. It's really fun to see a myth be treated like a myth in a book, and then everybody loves overwhelming odds. And the fact that there's an entire invading army and the culture of these people are willing to love a myth so much that they're willing to play by the rules against an enemy because that's their system of honor, which is really fun to see. Them like trying to pretend that there's a fake tunnel over to the 7 people, and they're only attacking as if they're in the tunnel. It was really fun to see this charge, and it was a really good scene.
It
Like
was a
the
great scene. That whole army fight scene is just so amazing. Where he's just like, "This is what we have to do, and you just have to go with it." And then they do, and it's just like nobody's sure what's going to happen. I mean, Brad, what were you going to say? Sorry, I kind of cut you off.
No, I was gonna say, the other thing I like is that you found out that Morn has basically conned everybody in Tristan or Tristia
Yeah, that was
because
fun.
he didn't actually unite the tribes, and you have all the other tribes standing up on the hilltop watching.
Hmm.
Yeah,
And
it's a
you
great
also find
twist.
out that like half his cannons aren't real and none of the steel is real. It's like
Yeah.
fake steel or flawed steel anyway.
Yeah, it was
Which
all their own
is
steel, but
right.
he tricked everybody. Yeah, he was very good at that.
And music, the way the music played in the battle, where you had one bard start to sing the song of the 7 against 1,000, and then another and another. And I like the callback to the Battle of Thermopylae, that to 300, by the way.
Oh, okay. All right. For
Good.
the
Yes, thank you
non-history
for that.
buffs out there, and for
Yeah.
the movie buffs out there, that was from the movie 300. Okay.
It's also
I
a thing
guess.
that happened. I mean, not like that, but it did
Wait, so
happen.
you're saying 300 is real, but this book is not?
Yeah,
Yes.
300% was a 100% factual experience there.
No, it was
They
not a
had
documentary.
cameras, they did everything by the
They
book,
Yeah.
oiled up
time
their abs
travel.
before going
That's
into
every
battle.
time they went into
Yeah.
fights, they
I
had to
thought
do
that's just
that,
how they
yes.
did it back then. I
Mhm.
didn't know.
Yeah,
Okay.
100% truth right there. I really I agree with you guys. The 7 versus 1,000, Morin playing both sides. I liked the right of scoring where you have to say you send one person out in front and their job is just to twist and to kind of anger the group in front of you, kind of like a little rite of passage / a little like whose army's more disciplined. And he said, I don't remember exactly. I know he sends Chalmers out, and I don't remember how
Yeah.
or why it was so effective against them, but it was, and just so good. I'm gonna stick with Morn for a second here. He's kind of our bad guy, and I'll tell you one of the other times that really gut punched me in this one is that we find the lost Greatcoats. They are
Yeah.
lost no more, but they have most of them have betrayed themselves or betrayed what they really stood for in going along with Morn's plan to enable another dictatorship, basically, though, of judges. So, I mean, how did you guys feel when you remember that? Like they're going up to the Avarians to see what's kind of going on, to investigate. Morn's with them, he tricks them, then he reveals himself and beats up Falcio in a very twisted duel, kind of over and over and over again with the other Greatcoats
Yeah.
watching.
I didn't, I mean, I understood the premise of that. I didn't enjoy it just because I didn't want the Greatcoats to turn, or if they did, once they see Falcio and the other, like the first canter, wouldn't they be like, oh, maybe, we shouldn't do what we're doing and let's try and make the country better again now that we got the team back together. But
I
all right, I
I didn't
guess.
like it either, and first of all, this is the second group of Greatcoats that we found that are turned traitor, or maybe even third, because you had the ones that had turned bandit
Yeah,
in
but
the
those
first
were like
book.
fake because they were real great coats, but they're posing as bandits
They
so
weren't
that they're
posing.
not
They were
murdered
actually
by everybody that hates the great coats.
but also, the group that
This
the King's Spear came from, they were borderline traitors too.
I
So,
don't
King,
I don't remember. There's
Tavia, maybe is her name?
oh the well she comes from the group of the assassins basically.
No, no,
yeah.
no, that's a different person.
Oh,
Who are you thinking?
I'm thinking of so in the 3rd book, they meet these Greatcoat that have been, turned, I guess, kind of, and they get ambushed
Wasn't that
in the
fake
woods.
great coats where people were just pretending
No,
to be
that was
great
the
coats
2nd
or
book.
I
That was
thought
the
they were
2nd book.
fake ones. No, no, no. I thought the fake ones came back.
I don't know, whatever. There's the
Don't
point
worry
is
about it.
that
Don't worry
I
about it.
don't like this plot point because I feel like it's a retread, is what I'm saying.
I
Okay.
liked it because I was in Falco's head, and he's like, "Oh my gosh, all my great coats are here." But then he was like, "Ugh!" But they don't believe in the goal anymore. They've turned. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
I
Chesky
mean,
just
I
likes the
guess.
Falkio gut punches, and
Uh,
they do
What can
keep
I
coming.
say? I
I'm not
really
I
I'm
feel
not
like
hating on it. I'm
Falco.
just saying I don't like all of the gut punches for
the
Falkio.
one thing that I do enjoy about this book is I feel like Falkio's finally starting to get by the end of the book, finally has some self-awareness because he is so unself-aware the entire series. And it's very frustrating.
Well, like we said, Duke Gilliard's way on the pragmatism side, and Falco's way on the idealism side.
No,
You
this
know.
isn't
Yeah.
about his idealism. This is
Well,
about
I'm
like
just saying,
he
like,
just
because he's
does
so
not.
unaware, because he's so idealistic. Oh, things will work out if I don't,
I guess,
and he
sure,
needs to,
whatever.
be more
I guess.
realistic about it.
So I want to talk about since I brought up a bad thing,
Go ahead.
I want to talk about a good thing.
Oh, I thought you were gonna say a really bad thing.
No, I think I
Okay.
pretty much touched on all my bad things.
Good. No more. No more bad things.
Oh
You heard it
well, I
here.
guess that we have to deal
No,
with
no,
it too,
no.
right?
No more bad things. Go ahead.
Anyway, so good thing. The conversation between Falkio and
Athalia,
no, the king's heir.
Payless.
Right.
Oh,
Billion.
Palian. Yeah, when he's
Oh,
gathering up the fire and he has the firewood and they have this conversation about his training as a leader and the whole story about him having to kill his dog because his dog has started harming children and how to balance power with protecting things you love and the cost of leadership. And that conversation with Falkio, just thought was really interesting. I mean, I'm not saying just that sometimes when you're in leadership, you have to do really, really bad things.
yeah. You gotta make hard choices because that's what the leaders do.
And then Falkio has a similar experience when he's leading the army into battle before the 7 against 1,000 part, just the first 2 days war. He's like, I'm sending this person to die.
Yeah.
And he feels sick about it, but that's what it is to be a leader sometimes.
That's why you have to find good leaders.
Yes.
That's why it's very important to have good leaders.
Hmm.
But I just thought that that was really interesting. And also the reference to the fact that the Duchess Tricia, her people weren't starving when she was ruling. She actually did take care of them. Like as bad and evil as she was, she did make sure her people were taken care of, which I thought was dang. Just it got complicated. That's the thing. This is that whole part of not that part
Yeah.
that
There's shades
idea.
of gray. It looks like
Well, it
Red
just
wanted one evil person, but they weren't all totally evil.
it's not
Oh
that I wanted that.
no.
I actually really enjoyed that, and that's something that the series works up to struggling
Yeah.
with. Like, it's a little bit in the first book, but the further along you go, the more that there's that real struggle.
No,
Same
it
with the
feels
Duke.
more realistic. I like when
Mhm.
books do this type of personification of their villains, and I'd rather see a villain who does like a good. I don't want to say a good thing, but like they
Oh,
do
it's
something
a
that seems
yeah,
reasonable. I'm like, oh, that makes sense because it's
yeah,
rational. I like
yeah.
when something's rational in the story.
Yeah. I mean, I'm not saying I don't enjoy really black and white stories too that are just like there's a good guy and a bad guy. But you know what? It's nice to have that. It gives me a lot of respect for our author that he had his characters wrestle with that and also
Hmm.
doesn't give you an answer.
Yeah, and it's sometimes really tough to get that right. The balance between how evil is your evil person and how good are they, and just or how gray are they really? And I do think he does a good balance with all of them or most of
I
them,
think
at the
so.
very least.
Yeah.
Except Trent.
Solution. Do you have anything else you wanted to bring up?
Frosty's still the best character. And I don't think, look, everybody's laughing, so I don't think anybody's fighting me on that.
I disagree, but he's a
Yeah,
great character. He's a lot of
he's a
fun.
great one.
He is really good. I
I
did still really enjoy the trio's friendship. This one, I
mhm.
think it culminated very well in the ending. No, no,
No,
Chesky.
no, I'm nodding.
Oh,
Oh
okay,
no, I'm
okay,
agreeing with you. Yeah, sorry.
Yeah,
okay.
no, and the way that they play off their what's it called?
Their retirement
No, no, no,
packages.
no. No, I was
Oh,
thinking about the Prison Break. The way that they
oh
play out
yeah,
their act in order to get the tools they need to keep Prison
yeah.
Break. That was a
See,
lot of fun. That was great. That was so much fun.
the way he writes friendship friendships and like bromances and everything, and like I will. That's why I'm going to continue reading books that Sebastian de Castell writes, because that alone, I'm an overlooker. Like I said, for those reasons alone, I will read a book and I will enjoy it.
So,
It's a lot of fun.
yeah, back to the very end. I love it's not really a breakup, but
No,
yeah, it was
it's
great.
retirement. Friend,
Yeah.
okay.
Yeah.
It's a
Everybody's got
breakup.
friends
Let's
that you
say
can
it.
just
Yeah.
you can just go off for years, and then you're like, hey,
Mhm.
let's meet up, and then
Yeah.
it's like nothing passed, no time has passed at all. That's obviously what this
He was
this
going
friendship has
for.
going for it.
Poor Chambers, though. I feel she got the shaft in that one.
Yep, yes, you did. But guess what? That's how you create another Falkio, and she'll find people. She'll be
Shoot.
fine.
Yeah.
So, did we talk about this? I think we talked about it during our last review of this, but we do think that Cass is in love with Falkio, right?
Oh,
Like in love. In
100%.
love.
And
Yeah.
that's another one of those sticking points that Falkio still, I don't think he ever really saw it, even though everybody else did.
Yeah. I think we
Yeah.
talked about that last time. That's kind of what we
Yeah,
decided.
we don't need to go over it again. It's the same thing
Well,
because
I don't know
nothing
if
really changed in this
I
one.
was gonna say, I
So,
don't know if we talked about it for the last episode or for the last time we talked about it.
we've talked about it in
Yeah.
every book except the first
That's true.
one, I think, the
That's true.
recording,
Yeah. I don't think
including the one that we
too
lost.
much in the
So,
first.
yeah.
I had one more just little thing. If you guys remember the scene where Falkio is fighting Morn, and he's kind of remembering back to how he beat Kest
Oh,
to become the
yes.
first Cantor,
Yeah,
and
it
he's
was
like,
good.
why did the king think
So
that it was
good.
good to have just a fight, a tournament style fight to see who would be the first Cantor? And he's like, everybody knew it would be Kest, so how the heck did you beat Kest? And you go back and he's like, it's just it's
I
Falkio
bought
thinking,
him
but I
the
was like,
I trained Castellous.
yeah,
Easy.
I trained him the day before to pull his sword back so he didn't stab me in the gut. And it's just like, so good. Like you tricked us, you tricked everybody, you know?
And see, here's the thing that I actually truly love about this entire series is the way that Falkio remembers something or explains something that's in the past in order to give you light or shed light on what's going on in the current moment.
Mhm.
Yeah, it's a fun writing style.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
It hits, I'd say 90% of the time. It does pretty well.
Yeah, there's a couple times where it's off, but I mean, nobody's perfect. That is
No, no,
something
no.
definitely willing to
When you're
overlook.
doing something that's
Sure. Yeah,
jarring,
yeah,
most of the
yeah,
time it doesn't work. So that's why I'm really excited that most of the time it does work for this, because that's
yeah,
what's surprising.
yeah,
Yeah.
I agree.
All
Okay, I
right.
guess we're gonna end all agreeing on
Yeah.
something.
And
No,
of
I feel like
course,
or give us something to disagree on quick.
well, I can't give you something to disagree on, but the final scene or one of the final scenes is just so touching when Death and
Oh,
Love and
yes.
Valor, the three gods, come and visit Falkio, and they give him a little bit more time. And I mean, if it doesn't make me just tear up, he's thinking about it. I haven't even read it recently. Like I'm just like that was such a heartbreak scene, and then
Yeah.
just like a perfect ending though, with
And then
everybody,
when
Kest leaving to join the Honori, Brasti joining the Ring Naretti, Falkio retiring, like we said.
yeah, and, the fact that Death lets Falkio hug Elena, even though they're technically not supposed to touch, and then the tailor makes some snotty comment, and Death says, "You really are a wretched old person, aren't you?"
Yeah. I said, can't wait to get my hands on you. Killer Death, you can do
Yeah,
it.
yeah. No,
Take
I
Yeah.
her.
remember that scene. Yeah, yeah. I just remember it a little bit more when you said that, where he's like, "Can I touch her?" And he's like, "Well, no." And he's like, "I'm gonna do it anyway. I look death in the eye all the time. You're not stopping me. Like I'm doing it." And he's just like, "Okay, like go ahead."
All right. You tried.
So,
See, yeah, I really wanted the tailor to die at the end. I really did. I'm sorry.
I'm
well,
surprised she lived that long. I'll
I
give her that.
I will stick to my point here that I think if the Taylor had ended up being a kind of step above God or step above person but
Like a
below
saint.
God or something,
Yeah.
like a
Mhm.
saint, I think same with the builder in the third book, that would have been a much smoother. We wouldn't have to hate her as much, but that's a previous discussion that we've had.
Yeah.
So
What about the Duchess who was willing to kill the heir because she was afraid of Tren taking over him?
I
And
didn't like
and she
that.
turns out to be his mother. That was
Yeah.
actually also an amazing part.
yeah,
No, I
there
didn't
are a
like
lot of
that.
twists in here, like and a lot of turns, but yeah, there's just too much to talk
Yeah,
about
not all the
all at
twists and
once.
turns work for me. So,
Yeah.
but
I have to say I'm a gullible reader, so pretty much every twist works on me, and
well,
and they probably all worked on me when I read them.
well,
So
not that it works. Like, cause yeah, I'm also pretty gullible. I very rarely see something coming correctly, but I usually see something coming. So it depends. Like, I didn't enjoy all of the twists, but I did get twisted a lot, if that makes sense.
Mm.
I don't know. Either way, this was a really fun book, and I really did enjoy it. And on a second kind of skim read through, much more than the first, I think we probably should have paced ourselves a little bit better.
Well, I agree. I appreciated more in this book for sure. This last reread, and you know what? I don't feel like he ever sucker punched us with the emotional stuff. I think it was all genuine.
Yeah.
The
Okay.
humor's real,
Humor's on point.
Yeah.
and
Oh, he does a great job.
you know what? He gave
So
me a
good.
happy ending, and I love happy endings.
Yeah.
I
I
mean,
think
it's bittersweet, but it's still a happy end for the most part.
Well, no, it's happy.
I think I can
Everybody got
speak
what they
for
wanted.
the three of us when I can say that this is a good book or a great book and a great ending to the series. And those are not always the same, right? Sometimes you have good books but not good ends to series, and sometimes you have great ends to a series but a not good book. And I think this managed to hit both of those categories.
You're right. He did it
100%.
both.
So I have good news for you guys.
Sure.
Oh no.
There is a collection of short stories.
Oh.
Greatcoat short stories.
Tales of
And there's
Oh.
Greatcoats,
some
I believe,
really,
right?
really fun ones.
Okay. Is there Brasty? Is there Kent? Sorry,
Cast.
Kest.
No, I don't think
I don't
so.
want it.
Is
I
it
don't want it.
Falchio or is it just random Greatcoats?
Well, there's a couple Falchio ones. There might be actually a Brasty one, but I'm not sure. But there's a really fun ghost story in it. There's
Okay.
the girl who saved Chambers.
Yeah.
She has a story,
Colada. Okay.
and they're all
I
just
just want
really,
more
really good short stories.
Frosty and Kest and Falchio.
Well,
Okay.
go back and read book 2 and 3 because that's where you get the best Brasti and Cast.
It is true. It is true. But nothing beats the first scene of the first book.
Oh,
Okay.
I
Setting
Yeah.
the tone for the whole book. All right.
the punch,
It's yeah.
pull, whatever.
Punch,
Yeah.
pull, slap, while at the same time their employer was getting murdered in the next room. It's just a great opening to the entire series, and I'll never forget that.
Kest is probably still the Saint of the Sword because we talked about this.
Oh
Well,
yeah, I thought he
I
was.
think it's confirmed during the battle that he definitely is.
Yeah.
Still the Saint of Swords.
Yeah.
So I thought that was fun.
That is.
That was it. I'm done.
All right.
Okay. All right.
Final question for you guys. Are you guys going to read more Sebastian de Castel? I for sure am.
100%. Yeah,
I
100%.
already have. I read the short stories.
But are you going to keep
Were you
reading
gonna read
more?
more?
Yes,
Like,
I'll
We wanna
read them.
know.
Maybe not like I read Brandon Sanderson or Neil Gaiman, but yeah.
for sure. All right. Sounds good. All right. I think that wraps up everything we had to talk about, you guys. This is going to conclude our episode. Thank you so much for listening, everybody. You can always find us on the Legendarium's Discord. We're also on Twitter at Green Team Pod. You can join us in supporting the Legendarium via Patreon. And thank you, Craig, for loaning us a little corner of your media empire. Thank you, Horizon Brave, for starting this all. And of course, thanks to all of you guys out there listening. We'll see you guys next time.
No, you won't. This is a podcast.
Yep.
Well,
yeah,
you'll listen to
still
us
see
next time.
You'll
Bye.
see us in spirit.
See us in your
in your
mind.
car window mirrors and in everywhere. In your sunglasses,
Goodbye.
all of it. Goodbye.
Goodbye.
Goodbye.